Sometimes I wish I had just one day to save the Shrek franchise.
Why didn't you say so?
So I just have to sign this and the Shrek franchise will be saved.
Sign it.
Nah, on second thought, I'll just watch Shrek Forever After.
Have a nice day.
And then I saw her face. I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind.
Shrek Forever After, directed by Mike Mitchell, and of course is the fourth and at the time final instalment of the Shrek series until they confirmed a Shrek 5 for 2019. But hey ho, it's now the penultimate Shrek movie. So Shrek Forever After tells the story of after the events of Shrek the Third. Shrek is now he's living happily ever after with his loving wife Fiona, his children Fergus, Fargal and Felicia, and has friends who adore him, only he doesn't see that. He is not happy. He wishes he had just one day to feel like an ogre again. So after he signs a deal with the devious Rumpelstiltskin, he gets sucked into an alternative universe where he accidentally gave to Rumple the day he was born and thus never existed, and nobody remembers him, and Rumple is king of Far, Far Away, and Shrek has to make things right. He has to defeat Rumple, he has to get his life back and make Fiona fall in love with him and share true love's kiss with her, as it's the only way to take away the alternative universe and get back to the way things should be. Now, Shrek Forever After, it had a hard act to follow. This film has, believe me, a lot to live up to. After the first two Shrek films are such a hard act to follow, as I've said, and Shrek the Third was absolutely terrible. I think everybody was like, rest in peace Shrek after that movie. Nobody wanted to see a Shrek film again. So when it was announced there was a Shrek 4, people were like, oh, it's going to be just as bad as the third. We're not going to bother. They're just making Shrek for the money at this point. So, sadly, some people didn't bother. Sadly, a lot of people hated this film as much as the third. Although, I've never understood the hate this film has gotten. I think it is a definite, much needed improvement over that third film. It is a triumphant return for Shrek. It's not a great film, far from a perfect film, not as good as the first two Shrek films by any means, but it's good enough. At least with this one they tried. They gave a decent finale to the four films. And here's why. While Shrek does feel complete as a trilogy, if that third film in a trilogy is a piece of shit like the third was, then there's definitely a fourth film could be made as room for improvement, which is what this film achieved. At least with the opening of this film, which opens with the book, just like the beautiful book opening of the first two films. The third film didn't open with the book at all. It was just a poor imitation of the opening of the second film. This, however, this opening brings the magic back to Shrek. You go, yes, this is more like it. And Shrek in this film has a much more interesting and more compelling and better character arc than he ever did in the third film. He is living happily ever after, only he's not happy. He doesn't see what he has, and therefore he greatly learns from his mistakes and pays the price for that, and almost gets himself killed and loses the perfect life he has earned over the four films. And that's the heart of this movie, Shrek having to overcome being an asshole and finally appreciate what he has and become a better person, which has been his story throughout the entire series. They're back on track, and I love the fact this story-wise this film differs from the other three films completely, having set in an alternative universe, having seen what would have happened if Shrek hadn't have saved Fiona, if Shrek never existed, where the characters would have ended up. And that means the supporting cast are a bit different throughout the majority of the film, which means they're back with a bang. Fiona, for one thing, because nobody rescued her in this universe, she rescued herself, and she is a warrior. She is a total badass. You don't want to fuck with her, trust me. And she is the leader of the Ogre resistance against Rumpelstiltskin, which was so interesting. I loved the fact that this film, being the final Shrek, it actually has more ogres than the first three ever had. I love the idea of the ogre resistance rising up against Rumpel, and the ogres themselves, the chief and the cook, they were fun. They were fun and lovable characters. And Donkey is hilarious in this film. How he's much more shaggy since he never met Shrek, and he helps capture ogres for Rumpel. And he has to learn to befriend Shrek all over again. And Puss in Boots is so funny in this film. How he's so overweight and just can't move around. And if he hadn't have met Shrek, he would have just been a pampered cat who would have just lazed around and wouldn't have done anything. And that had me laughing my arse off. Oh, I could finally laugh at a Shrek film again. The comedy is back. Yeah, for one. And even Gingy, they did something very creative with him too. How he's a warrior gingerbread man, which fights animal crackers. That was hilarious. And just the comedy in this film is, as well as the story, is so... It's not... I have mixed feelings on the comedy. It's not the comedic marvel the first two Shrek films were, but it's leagues better than the comedy in the third film. The jokes were actually memorable this time, especially that kid at the party, Butterpants, who kept asking Shrek, do the roar, and when Shrek finally does the roar, he's like, I love you, daddy. Oh, brilliant. And it's so relieving to see that the jokes are back where they're aimed at adults as well as children in this film. At least you can laugh. And in the third film, that barely got a chuckle out of me. And Rumpelstiltskin, the villain, he's good. He surprisingly does pose a threat to Shrek, and it's interesting how he was the one that the king and queen came to when Fiona was being locked in the town. Nobody was helping her, so they resorted to more desperate measures. And because Shrek saved Fiona, Rumpel never got the chance to take Far, Far Away, and his life was ruined. So that would give him a great motivation to hate Shrek. And he's the one that basically takes Shrek's life away from him and takes away his existence, and making him a very personal enemy for Shrek. While he isn't the best Shrek villain, that's still the fairy godmother, but he's far from the worst. And Rumble, surprisingly, isn't overloaded with comedy. They actually take him seriously as a villain, so creating some stakes in this movie. The third film was so boring and nothing happened. It lacked a sense of urgency. This film, because Shrek has only one day to get Fiona to kiss him and one day to defeat Rumpel and make things right, that creates a real race against time. And thank God in this film, unlike the third film, the comedy doesn't overshadow the drama. Like there's one scene where Shrek has the doll of his daughter Felicia, and he just breaks down and cries, realizing he's just lost his family. He thinking to himself, oh, I'm so stupid, what have I done? Now how am I ever gonna forgive myself? Oh, it's a heart-wrenching scene. And it helps that Shrek and Fiona's romance gets the chance to redevelop. Of course, since she doesn't know him, she at first hates him and dismisses him as nothing. And Shrek, while he's falling in love with her all over again, realizes how he really hasn't been there for her, and not just in the alternative universe, but in his old life too. And they have great banter and great fun together. So their romance by the end feels well earned. However, I did say this wasn't a perfect film, nor is this the best in the series. It definitely has its flaws. For one thing, the biggest issue I had with it was, in the beginning, it made Shrek way too unlikable. I know that's the point of the story, but I mean, come on. In the third film, he said he was tired of being king and wanted to go home, and now he's back in his swamp and has achieved everything anyone could want. He has a loving wife and children, and he's back home with friends who absolutely love him. Why is he so blinded with wanting to go back to being an ogre in the days when he was alone and wasn't loved and everybody hated him? How could he be so stupid? Was scene where he just smashes the cake at his children's party. I can understand everybody was crowding him, and that was overwhelming them. I'd be overwhelmed too, but to smash the cake, that's just out of bounds. That is angry Daz. And when Fiona was trying to help him outside, I felt bad for her. She was trying to help him and explain, you have it all, why can't you see it? Yet he was being a fucking arsehole and not listening to her, and he flat out told her he wished he'd never married her. Oh, if I was her, I would have divorced him. I'd be pissed off. Apparently, the writers of this film talked to a lot of marriage counsellors about that scene, and all the marriage counsellors agreed Shrek could not smash the cake, and I see why. And while the pacing of this film is a definite improvement over the sluggish pace of the third film, it still drags at points. They spend way too much time in the ogre resistance. I'm like, spend a bit of time here to get to know the ogres. Yes, can we please get to the point? Can we please get to beating Rumpel and get Shrek and Fiona to fall in love? I mean, and like I said, Rumpelstiltskin was a good villain, but his witch army are kind of weak. They look like they pose little to no threat to the ogres that they're hunting. In the final battle, the witches are easily defeated and taken out, and not to mention the Pied Piper, the bounty hunter, which catches the ogres by playing his flute. He doesn't get a single line of dialogue. He doesn't serve much purpose in the film at all, apart from to be an obstacle for our heroes. The animation here is great. It is so bright and colourful, and it is the most crisp of the four, and it does bring back at least some of the magic and heartwarming feel of the first two. The soundtrack is a mixed bag for me. I mean, there's nothing particularly outstanding in this soundtrack other than a couple of good songs like the Carpenter's Top of the World in the montage where Shrek feels he's finally an ogre again. That really helped that scene. The other version of I'm a Believer was pretty good at the end, not that bad, but all the other songs are so forgettable. I mean, it's an improvement over the completely forgettable soundtrack of the third film, but that's not saying much. However, I will say this, the climax of this film is just perfect ending to the Shrek series, where Shrek and Fiona are captured and the ogres and break in, beat Rumpel in a surprisingly decent battle, and Shrek and Fiona have to work together to take down Dragon. Yes, Dragon is in this alternative universe. She's just a fiery beast, and the scene where Shrek is dying and in Fiona's arms, it's boy, is it powerful. Saying to Fiona, I got the chance to fall in love with you all over again. I won't deny a tear rolled down my eye. I haven't cried that hard since Shrek 2. And thankfully Shrek gets the happy ending he deserves when he and Fiona finally share true love's first kiss just in time, taking away the alternative universe and bringing Shrek back to the present, where he finally apologizes and appreciates his family and friends and realizes it was Fiona who saved him. So while Shrek Forever After may not be the best Shrek movie, it is certainly a decent and worthy finale to this series. And if you're one of the haters, give it a second chance, you might like it. I give Shrek Forever After 3.5 stars out of 5. Well guys, that's the Shrek reviews until of course Shrek 5 in 2019. I really hope that's good. I've loved watching all four films again, well with the exception of Shrek the third, but the other three put a big smile on my face. It is one of DreamWorks' best franchise, and I will always remember it. Well, I love you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you think of Shrek Forever After? Comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow us and on Google Plus, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.